Well, hey friends, welcome back. This is day 17 of our 25-day Christmas Advent watercolor paint along, and today we're going to be painting a beautiful chapel covered in snow. And before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the rest of the series, and go ahead and tap the like button if you're painting along with me today. It really helps this video reach more people. So let's grab our supplies and get your paper ready, and let's start with a simple sketch. So I am going to start with the peak of my chapel roof here. And perspective is so important in pieces like this. If it doesn't look right as you're sketching it out, it's gonna look funny. And we don't want our building to be all wonky. So if you prefer sketching from a template, especially for this one, I don't blame you. You can always find the templates on my website. Okay, let's get that little steeple in there. Add a little green shrubbery back here. And we'll get a nice little entryway added on to this. Give it a little porch. Get that front door on. Sometimes the sketching takes a little bit longer than you feel like it should, and that's okay. Sketching is kind of like the foundation of your piece. It doesn't have to be perfect, but especially when you're dealing with perspective, you want it to be right. Otherwise, it's just going to throw off the whole thing. All right, I'm going to do a little trick here to get my side windows in. Just use that little line to help you get a nice uniform look. It's kind of like an expressway to get those little windows on there. And then I'm going to add just a couple trees back here. I'm going to make them some different heights so you get a little bit of interest in there. Give them a trunk. And then we'll get the little bit of snow here. All right. And that is it for our sketch. Now I'm going to activate my watercolors here. A little spray. And we will get to painting. Now I'm going to start with the main body of my church and the accent color. So I wanted this to stand out a lot from the surroundings. We've got the white snow, we've got the green trees, which are going to have some snow bits on them, but I wanted this to be able to stand out a fair amount. So we're going to make this a red chapel with some beautiful mustard yellow trim work. So I'm going to start with getting in some of that yellow trim. I'm just following the roof line here at the front. And then I will follow it to the back. I'm going to do this cupola. In the mustard. I'm using yellow ochre for this part of it. And then we'll even make our little roof line have a little bit of trim work. Now let's add the rest of the trim to the chapel. We'll get the side trim here. A little bit of trim that'll transition from the foundation of your church to the siding part. Look at these front doors. Our stair treads. Now, if you go over anything that seems like it should be snow, that's fine. We're going to come back with some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White in a bit and add our snow. Okay, get the little roof line on the entryway here. And then around our windows. Now I did completely fill in these windows. We're going to come back and add some window panes later. All right, last window here. And we've got this little bit of trim back here at the very back of the church. All right, oh, there's a little bit here that needs to trim from the foundation of the church. And get the railing. All right. Next, let's go in and I'm going to use my deep red because I want something that's going to be a nice dark, deep tone. And start adding these bits right around the front. You have to use a light hand with this because we've got all those little trim pieces that we added. And you see there, I got a little bit of one of my trim pieces. It's okay. Just take a clean damp brush, kind of brush it off. And if you feel like you have better control with a smaller brush, you can always use a nice tiny brush to get in all these details. It'll take you a little bit longer, but you might be a little happier with the result. All right, I am going to work on my sky just a little bit. I want to let the rest of those trim pieces dry a little bit more so I don't accidentally mess them up. So I'm just gonna get around my steeple, around my roof line just a little bit, just damp. I don't want it sopping wet. I don't want a puddle here. Just around my trees. And I'm gonna go in with a ultramarine blue. I'm just gonna add some little light touches to this damp sky and slowly work them in as I move around the sky. It'll be kind of like there's some little super soft cotton candy kind of airy clouds going on in the sky. We got the sky in. Next, we're going to go back to our red and finish adding our little red siding areas here. Now we've got the entryway here. And we've got this little area that's, you can peek through and see on the other side of the railing. If it's not perfect, that's okay. We are going to be adding snow that will cover up a few mistakes. All right, I've just got this one little side over here. And we're going to go in and add just a little bit of shading. I'm going to add some underneath this roof line, and I'm going to use a touch of black mixed with some red here. And I want to do this while it's still a little bit damp. So it'll just blend. That shadow just wants to soften all on its own. And I'm also going to add a shadow to over here because the side is kind of tucked away. Add just a little bit of shadow up here underneath this roof line, underneath this roof line. All right, let's go and add just a little bit of detailing to our mustard yellow. I'm going to use the burnt orange. I'm going to give a little shadow to this side. A little frame around the door. Let's make it a double door. Give the stairs some treads. And let's add some little slats up here. This is where the bell sound is going to come out, you know, when they ring the bells in the chapel. So maybe a little bit of extra detailing up here to the trim. And a little bit around where the windows are going to go in. Just that shadow around the trim. All right, let's go in and add the roof shingling details and then the window details. So I'm just going to use black and just going to go in and follow these lines. Fill in like this is a shingled section of the roof. Leave a little line in between there at the corner. So you've got a little delineation there. Let's get the roof on the steeple here. And if you need to turn your piece to get a better angle, you can always do that. All right, I'm going to add just a little decoration to the very top of the steeple. Maybe it's a lightning rod or something. All right, and then let's get our windows in. And let's add a little doorknob here, or door handle. Now I'm just going to paint in the full window with the black, and I will come back later with the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White to add some of the little window details. Two windows left. There we go. Now we're going to add just the tiniest little black line. This is where the snow is going to be kind of coming off that roof. But the roof, you're going to see just the very edge of the shingles here. All right. Oh, you know what? That little teeny overhang on the entryway also needs just that littlest bit of a roof line. All right. Now let's add a little bit of Payne's Gray here at the bottom for the foundation and the brickwork. That would be here. I'm keeping this fairly loose. Kind of helps give the impression of some stonework there. And let's get our trees in. Now I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to start with this deep green, and I'm just going to dab in that little cone pattern there, this deep green. We want to leave some areas unpainted because that's going to be all the snow on the branches. We're going to make these two just a little bit different color so they stand out from each other a little bit. Make sure you go in and get a few darker areas in here. Can always add a little bit of black to give some shadowing here. All right, I'm going to use olive green on the other one. A lot of times, typically, you'll find if you're studying landscaping that the trees further away tend to be a little cooler in color or grayed out slightly as well. And I heard a tip once that, you know, the sky has a color, and the more distance between you and whatever's there in the background, the more sky, air, space there is going to be between you and it. And so whatever color your sky is, just add that tiniest bit in there the further away that object is. And we have a beautiful blue sky here, so just a little bit of blue mixed into your paint will kind of help give that definition. All right, I'm going to get this little shrubbery over here. Now let's add a little tree trunk. And finally, let's finish up this landscaping with just a bit of shadowing on our snow. Now here underneath the trees, we're going to have a little bit of shadow. You can give the illusion of some drifts that might be going on with just a little bit of Payne's Gray is what I'm using, and then come in with your wet brush and really soften that edge. If you have something that's going to be casting, you know, close to the snow and casting a pretty harsh shadow, then you can always have a little more defined shadowing. But for drifting, you're going to want a nice soft shadow, nothing harsh. All right, and I am going to add just the tiniest bit of little drifting snow shadows also to the roof, just to give it some definition. Help it not feel quite so stark and blank, like we forgot to do something there. All right, finally, we're going to add just a little bit of snow to areas that it was just not easy to add that to before with all the little detail work we needed to do. So we're going to add just a little bit up here, like we have some that's caught on some of the trim work. Maybe we have some that got stuck up on this little roof line. Stuck up there. Maybe we have some that got stuck on the railings. And there's definitely some that got stuck here on the very edges of the steps. And, you know, there's some that got just caught on the little window ledges. And maybe even the little trim here around the very sides of the building. And there's probably a little mound that got kind of left in here as they were clearing the steps. And if you want to add a little bit to your trees, maybe you accidentally painted them a little too solidly, you can add a little bit to your pine tree branches as well. All right, friends, that wraps up day 17 of our 25-day paint along. If you enjoyed painting this church with me today, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and tell me how it went. What was your favorite part, or what did you find difficult? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can join me for the rest of the Advent series. And if you're looking for templates, private classes, or live painting sessions, you can find all of that information on my website. And I will see you tomorrow for day 18. Thanks.